My name is Rene Petties-Jones, and I am president of the National Federation for Just Communities of Western New York Incorporated. Our organization is dedicated to bridging divides. What we try to do is to find ways to respectfully bring people together. I am a passionate Buffalonian, been here born and raised with my family for all my life. I have my kids here, I have my grandkids here, attended Buffalo Public Schools, more specifically City Honors. I just love Buffalo. You know, it's hard to describe how I'm feeling now because I go from a moment of frustration and anger to just being numb to really being very sad. So all of those feelings, I've got them right about now. They're just running the gamut. I just can't put my name on or finger on one particular feeling at this moment. The outpouring of love that came into our community is unparalleled. And it's something that I want to harness in some kind of way because that good energy, that good vibe, I happen to have the fortune of being there when the buses from our sports teams, the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, the Buffalo Bandits pulled up. And I have to say, it actually brought tears to my eyes. I had to stop and ask myself, wow, Rene, why are you crying? It's such a really beautiful sight. And it was because of the emotions that, first of all, that we're all carrying as a community, but the love that they brought into the unity of the community here. They really wanted to be a part of making us feel better. And I can't thank them enough for that individual and personal responsibility that each one of them took to load on that bus and show up for the community as they did. You know, having an opportunity to see all of the people that really want to outpour themselves, that love, that smile, that connection, just knowing that people from all over the world were trained on our community and showing the love that our community has for one another. They weren't just here to just kind of highlight the tragedy because we knew that the news media would be there for that. But what it really showed is the humanity that all of us have that potential to try to heal all of us in our communities. So just seeing that neighbor, that person that wanted to just hug someone. Interestingly enough, I was talking with someone who said, you know, after the tragedy, someone just walked up to them and gave them a hug, a random hug, for no reason. And it just felt good to not only have that human connection, that human touch, but that interaction. Hey, how you doing? I'm hanging in there. Just the conversations with one another really gives me hope that our future can be brighter than our past. You know, to overcome hate and racism, first of all, we've got to study. We've got to do our history to figure out where is it coming from. What drives people to hate someone to that extent? And more importantly, how do we overcome that hate with the love that we know exists in all of us? So in order to do that, it's having these educational moments, elevating the conversations to just learning more about people, cultures, traditions, and then infusing that level of respect that it takes to understand that we may be different, but we all want to live in safe communities. We all want to just interact with one another without fear of someone hating another just simply because of how they look, or maybe how they dress, or even how they speak. Get to know me. Get to really just talk to me. You may not like me as a person, but don't hate me just because of my color. Have a conversation, because maybe once you get to know me, you might find that you don't hate me as much as you think. You know, I really do think that it is the unknown. We talk about a lot of that in, being the segregated city that everybody labels us as. We're in an area where people feel comfortable with those that look like them and worship like them, speak like them. I think people are very fearful of the unknown. I don't know that it's necessarily something that they are bred to hate, but they don't know any differently. So when you start to open your mind, open your eyes to new possibilities, new conversations, that's where that educational component comes in. And just in your everyday interaction, if you visit a new place or you go to a different community that you may not necessarily understand or know about, you ask questions, you learn about things, you learn about landmarks, you learn about history. You know, when you see, say for example, a Confederate flag flying, that's a line in the sand saying, I don't welcome you, I don't like you. But why is the question? You don't know me, so how can you not like me if you don't know me? You know, what I've seen is I myself have grown. So in other words, you know, back when I was a kid, say for example, I wasn't focused in on our differences. I wanted to see people. What I see in my grandchildren is they too want to see people. But as an adult, I find my peers, some of my peers, have just written those hard lines to say, no, I don't want to learn about this particular culture, or I don't like these particular people. And I don't see our young people falling into that trap, but I do see them getting rewritten in history. So I always encourage them to study where we've been, because we've been here before. We've gone this route. The template is there. We just have to take it upon ourselves to understand the true history of what brings us to this moment in time. Dr. King truly was a bridge builder, and honestly, I go back in my own history that I had the pleasure of meeting Coretta Scott King as a young kid, and the idea of touching history impacted the way I am and the way I feel today, because she was a trailblazer along with her husband, walking through those moments in time, just teaching us how we can love one another. And that's really what I want to do for our younger generation, to give them that hope that love can overcome this hate. We hear an awful lot talking about hate in our past and in our current times, but if we talk about love more, we can drown out that hate. If you just keep repeating, I love you, I can love you, I want to get to know you, you are my neighbor, my friend, that's going to resonate louder than those hateful words that are going out there. You know, in my opinion, I believe that the neighborhood needs to be built up from the infrastructure. You know, I've said it many times that people go there now to pay their respects. They go there to plant flowers. What we need to have is people that want to go there to shop. We need people that want to go there to meet people that they just met maybe a few weeks ago. We need people to want to go there to just talk with other people. It can't be just a prayer destination. It's got to be a destination for humanity, because it's part of our Buffalo community. And we've got to make sure that the infrastructure is built and sustained to make people want to cross that zip code line as they've redlined over the years. It's going to take you and I just dedicated and not giving up, because there's going to be a lot of naysayers, a lot of people that are going to say, nope, never going to work, you don't need that store, or you only need one store. No, we need all of the resources being poured into all of our communities that have been left behind. The East Side isn't just the only community, unfortunately, that is left out of this equation. We've got to make sure that there's equity across the board so that everyone feels a part of Buffalo. Not just one Buffalo, that all of us feel a part of that one Buffalo. What I don't want to see happen is that the anger that we felt, the hurt that we feel, start to become isolating incidences. Because we don't need to shut people out, we need to bring people in. And it takes everyone working together, black, white, it doesn't matter. We all have to work together as a community in order to heal our community. So we've got to stop dividing down racial lines of who hurts more or who needs more. We've got to work together to know that we all were affected and impacted by this tragedy. And we all have to go through our processes, wherever that may be, in order to get to a place of healing. So for all of our white allies, we need to work together. And if you find some of your black friends saying, hey, I need a break from this conversation, I really can't talk about that, respect that moment and then come back again. Don't go back into our own corners and our own camps and silos. We have to bridge those divides and continue knowing that this is not easy for our community to work through this tragedy, but we can do it. We just have to be resolved and coordinated together as one community.